Hey everyone, you know that problem you have when your wife is flirting with her cousin? Well, I don't, but apparently it's a thing in Islam. In the strange corner of the Islamic universe, strange things happen. We're gonna go to a story we found on Reddit, my wife and I, called Husband's Flirty Cousin. Are you ready for this? Only in Islam. Let's get into it. So to begin, I'm going to introduce my wife. My wife, Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim, is here with me. And for privacy reasons, she's not going to appear on camera, but she is going to contribute to the conversation. So let's get into it. And here's my wife.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to share the screen now, and we're going to look at this together. And we're going to laugh at this craziness.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do this without laughing.
We can laugh. It's okay.
So, here we go. Salam all. I am a 28 female currently in Pakistan. As I am on maternity leave, I'm staying at my in-laws' home. My husband has a cousin who is also staying there. She is engaged to my husband's cousin, but is also my husband's cousin too. My husband is very friendly with everyone. He is everyone's favorite. But this particular cousin I find very flirty with my husband, always joking and extremely free. She will sit near him or goes to him when I am not near, always laughing very loudly. She shares a lot of personal things with him. Even I don't to that point, even though he is my husband. So a couple of times when I was overseas, he would drop her home and I wouldn't know. He will only tell me if I ask. I brought this up to my husband and he got so mad at me, literally fuming. I just said I find her very flirty, but he does not see this. They have grown up together and he sees her like a sister. I am fine with all of his cousins and family, but I can tell when someone is being flirty or not. Please tell me if I am overreacting or not. I love my husband. He is the best of all characters, whatever that means.
Best of all characters. It's like Muhammad, the best of all creation.
Yeah, actually, he's not the best, but okay. But I really don't want to be put off him, which I know it will if this continues. So then she's saying, edit, one time we went to my husband's auntie's farm. We were walking to see the animals, and all of a sudden, I see my husband is not walking with me. And they are walking together. Another time that day, she asked my husband to walk with him. When I'm sitting next to my husband and got up, she took my seat. The worst thing is that when she will get married, she will come to Australia where we live.
Oh boy. Okay, so what do we say about this? I guess first of all, to explain to people who might not understand, this is not a normal situation because in Islam, your cousin is not your mahram, which means they're permissible for marriage. So if anyone doesn't realize, you can marry your cousins in Islam. So your cousins are seen as potential mates, right?
Yeah.
And I guess in this case, even though he's married, she could be his second wife.
That's the
other crazy thing, right?
I didn't even think about that. I'm just thinking about how they'd be like husbands.
Yeah.
Cousin, husband, and wife. But seriously though, this is where are you going to find stories like this with like regular, like everyday people? Who is talking about their own family members trying to flirt with their husband? Like, I don't have any stories like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is the only religion where you're going to read about this type of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In my family, we also see cousins as like sisters, brothers and sisters. So we don't think of them as potential marriage partners.
Yeah.
Because my family grew up in Kenya, so it's a little bit different. Like, even though Muslim family, they don't do cousin marriage, right? It's like, ew, cousins? No, no way.
Yeah, because there's so much choice out there.
Yeah.
It's like, so why limit that to your cousin?
Yeah, so let's talk about so first of all, there's some, I guess, red flags here with the boundaries, right? And staying, like, is this him and her being inappropriate, like apparently walking together, laughing and joking, talking? I don't know, it sounds pretty bad. Like, it's no,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, I don't know. Let's assume she's telling the truth though. This is weird.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on here, like it seems like,
Yeah.
I mean, she's supposed to be getting married too to
Someone
she's
else.
engaged to my husband's cousin. Wait, they could switch. They
Yeah.
could switch. Well, the husband's cousin, but oh my god, this is so, she is engaged to my husband's cousin, but is also my husband's oh my god, there's too many cousins here.
It's very confusing.
There's too many cousins here, but I mean, this is a little bit weird.
It's a little bit weird, but also I would say maybe it's not weird. Like, assuming that it's true that he grows up and sees her like a sister, like I can understand that with my cousins too,
Yeah.
right? That it's like a brother-sister relationship. When you grow up together, you don't have that attraction towards that person, right? Depending on how
Yeah.
close you are. So we don't know, I guess, from the details, but she's feeling threatened by this relationship. She's feeling that he's being inappropriate. So, I mean, I guess, what do you do in a situation like this, right?
But I guess she's also going to automatically see this as a threat because it's allowed,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yes,
if I went
exactly.
somewhere with my cousin, you're not going to be
Exactly.
wondering
Yeah,
about
what
me.
the heck?
Like, you know, I would never look at my
Yeah,
cousin that way. But I
that's
guess
weird.
in this situation, in this
Yeah.
religion,
And this
your
culture.
in this culture, right? Your cousin is very much your competition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and the Pakistanis always marry the cousins, as we know. Not always, but like it's pretty common, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they-
Arranged marriages.
So I guess in that culture,
Yeah.
I would say that, okay, well, she has a point because he can marry her,
Yeah.
right? And she would be seen as a potential partner, not as a sister.
Right.
Whereas in my Muslim family, because we didn't grow up in Pakistan, we didn't even grow up in India, we grew up in Kenya, we don't see things that way. Even though technically it's legal, it would be weird, right?
Right.
So in that, like, yeah, in your case, if you're with your cousin, I'd be like, yeah, okay, it's your cousin. I'm not thinking you're gonna go with your cousin, right?
Yeah.
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 So is she overreacting? Maybe not, because he is the best of all characters, but also he's not in being the best character, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It could be like, I don't know, if he's just like kind of going off with her and hanging out with her and neglecting her, then maybe this
Yeah.
is something concerning. Or maybe she's just, I don't know, she's insecure and like hyper vigilant to any
Yeah.
type of woman, right? Like the fitna video that we did.
Yes.
Where like the woman, she was talking about her husband going to the gym and looking at all these other women. It's like kind of like that.
Yeah,
Like
and-
she's like, you know, like some of these women just see any woman as a threat, you know?
And Islamic cheating is allowed in a sense that second wife is like you could cheat on your first wife with your second wife. You could marry a second wife without telling your first wife, and it would be cheating, but it wouldn't be considered haram. It'd be considered okay,
Right.
right? And you even had that story. Well, maybe it's not totally related to this,
Yeah.
but your friend who had you knew that person whose wife was overseas, and they, like, you want to talk about?
Yeah,
Should we talk about that?
yeah. So, okay, so story time, guys. So, when in my first marriage, I had to move, and I made friends with this woman who was in the same apartment complex as me. She was Muslim, right? Like one day I'm like taking out the trash and whatever, and you know, she's just walking around, and I see her, and we just talk because we're wearing hijab, and we end up becoming like friends, kind of, sort of, like more so like I was bored and alone, and so she ended up just kind of becoming my friend, like showing up at my door, whatever. Anyways, so she was a born Muslim. She was married to a Pakistani guy he's a different ethnicity than her. He's Pakistani. And she told me this story about how he needed papers, right? So what they did was there was something going on with their visa. They went over to Pakistan, her, him, their kids, whatever. They're going over there to sort this visa thing out, right? And you wouldn't believe this. Well, maybe you could if you're familiar with this stuff. So what does he try to do, like, to get his visa paper sorted out with his first wife? Well, he's going there to sort that out, but he's also trying to pick up his cousin too. He wants to like marry his cousin. He was trying to marry his cousin over there, and I guess she like put a stop to that or something happened. It didn't go through. But like you see like in this situation, this like real life situation, you know, nobody's safe. No woman is safe from the cousin, right?
And then there was also that other story you told me about the guy that someone offered as a potential husband because his wife was away, right? And
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another story. Oh my God.
That's another weird Islam only situation, right?
Yeah, that's
married man, but his wife's not here, so why don't you marry him? Right?
Yeah, I told you that the other night. I was like, I'm always telling you stories. I'm like, did I tell you this yet? Or, you know, I can't remember. There's so many. I should have kept like a diary all these years. There's so many of these stories. But yes, this is another unfortunate story. Like, guys, I have so many stories. I'll tell you more eventually, like as we do more videos together. But here's another story, okay? This is something else that can happen. So I had a friend who was a convert, and our kids went to school together. So I used to go over her house and hang out, whatever. And she had this guy living in her basement, okay? He had a long story, right? But his wife, his Muslim wife, was overseas, okay? And he was living in my friend's basement over in the US. So anyways, you know, I'm single for like many, many years, right? Like, you know, I was single until I met Samir. So my friend one day, like casually at the kitchen table, like proposed to me. She goes, hey, she goes, did you ever think about, you know, so-and-so down in the basement, you know, down there for a husband? And I said to my friend, I go, but he's married. And she was like, well, she kind of like shrugged her shoulders and she's like, well, you know, she didn't really like know what to say. I'm like, I don't want to be a second wife to this guy living in your basement who has a wife overseas who he's not going to even tell.
Yeah.
That, like, he's not going to tell her because he doesn't have to tell her. And, okay, and that's like another thing. You don't have to tell your wife. You know, you don't have to get her permission to get a second wife. But that's why you don't have to get permission because these women are going to flip out, right? So it never went through, obviously.
Yeah.
But this is like another crazy story where it's like only in Islam can your friend have somebody living in her basement, and she's like, hey,
it's like,
you know,
cousins like, with benefit
yeah.
Not friends with benefits, right?
He was so mean too. He was not a nice person. So I even said that to her. I told her, I was like, I don't like him. And it's like, why would you even ask? Like, I'm not that desperate to marry some dude in your basement. Like, I don't like this guy, right?
Yeah. And I was just looking at the comments quickly, and it seems like a lot of people do agree that this is not appropriate. It's totally haram to be alone with your cousin. That's the other thing. We can talk about the flip side of this, which is that you can't even spend time with your cousins, your female cousins, or your opposite gender cousins in Islam, because they're not mahram to you, right? So, I mean, we
listen, this is why it's important for the breastfeeding thing, right? And make them all related, that magical, you know, interaction that makes everybody related.
Yeah, if anyone's wondering what we're joking about here, there's a hadith that said that it wasn't Aisha, it was, I think it was Abu Hudayfa felt uncomfortable with his freed slave Salim, who grew up and was becoming a man around his wife. So Prophet said she should breastfeed this adult man 10 suckles. And then Aisha said the 10 suckles was in the Quran. I'm paraphrasing, I've got the details wrong. But then the goat ate it. So there's a whole story here with the goat. And yeah, so you can't be alone with your cousins. You have to treat it. And in fact, in a religious family, the females would all be on one side of the house and the males would be on one side of the house, and they're totally separated.
I've experienced that before.
So you
like
might not
going
even
over people's houses.
So you might not. So in some families, you wouldn't even see your female cousins. You wouldn't even get to know them. And in fact, I do think in my case, my female cousins don't have a great relationship with me because when I got married, I became more religious and I distanced myself from them, even though we grew up like brother sister relationship, right? Like they were cousins, not brother sister. But after that whole Islamic transformation, I kept my distance, and also the way my ex-wife was. So this created some problems with me and my cousins. And so now, after so many years, even though I left Islam now, and I'm like, hey, this gap,
Disconnect.
there's a disconnect, there's a gap that was created over the years, a chasm that's not going to be easily mended, right? Because now they went their own way and I do my own religious thing or whatever, right?
Right.
And you were saying you've experienced, so I don't know if you want to talk about that. You experienced going to families where it's like completely separated?
Yeah, I have experienced that. Like the first Muslim family that I ever met, they were Egyptian. And this is before I converted anything. This is like 2009, right? So they invited me over their house for Eid, and that was the first time I ever met somebody that wore a niqab too. She answered the door and I was like so terrified. I was like, I'm not used to being around this. I don't know what any of this means or what it is. And I knocked on the door and the mother answered, and she like pulled it back.
Hello.
Yeah, I was so scared. And she pulled it back and she was like smiling. She's very nice, a very good cook, very, very good like home cook type of mom. And they had a small house, but like the back of their house was like converted into like another bedroom, and they had all the women there, and then all the men were in another part of the house. So the only interaction I had with the father of the family, because we were separated, was like I walked in their house and I'm kind of like, I'm invited in, I'm looking around, and they had like a bunch of like books, like Qurans, whatever, and I went to I put my hand out, and her dad was like, don't touch the Quran, are you on your period, blah blah blah. He said something like that, like, are you on your menses, whatever, and I'm like, I'm like, what, I'm not supposed to touch this. Yeah, he like freaked out at me, and then I was like,
crazy.
Yeah, because I was about to like touch the Quran, and
so
I'm like,
weird. What the hell?
Yeah, I wasn't on my period or anything, but I'm like, no.
Look, that's kind of crazy.
And I was like, okay, like that was like the welcome I got like from the father.
Yeah.
And then we all just like separated, and like I never really talked to him again.
Wonderful family values.
Yeah.
Right? Marry your cousin, but you can't see them in the same house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty, that's a wrap. That was an interesting video. Cousins with benefits, I guess we can call it that. But it was nice having this conversation with my wife here, and thanks for joining me.
Yeah, it was great having this conversation too. And guys, stay tuned, because I have a lot more stories where that came from, and little by little, I'm gonna share them.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it as well. Thanks for watching. If you're a YouTube member or a patron, really appreciate you and all the support you guys have been doing. For those of you who are new here, please do subscribe, join the channel, and consider supporting us. This is your friendly ex-Muslim and wifey
Signing out.